Hey guys, so today's video is another episode of Cat Chats. As you can tell, because I'm here on my Cat Chats couch. These are my pants, covered in makeup swatches and dog hair. A few things I need to talk about before I get started with this video. One, today's video was not supposed to be a Cat Chats, and it was also not supposed to be this kind of Cat Chats. You guys always wonder what that noise is? Like I was saying, it wasn't supposed to be a Cat Chats, it was supposed to be a different kind of video, a beauty video. And the Cat Chats that I was supposed to film this week was about Pedro Bang, Operation Peter Pan, that I told you guys I was gonna film a Cat Chats all about it. But I'm actually reading a book about it, and I wanna finish the book before I do a Cat Chats. So that Cat Chats will come later. Sooner than later, but later. Today we're just gonna talk about something else. Maybe something that you guys will find absolutely not interesting at all. But I realized I hadn't told you guys about this, which is really weird because I was a very dramatic kid, and this situation kind of traumatized me for a while. I'm also not wearing any mascara. Isn't that weird? I barely have makeup on. And I know it sounds so stupid in so many videos when people are like, oh my god, excuse my face, I don't have any makeup on. Or excuse my hair, it's super puffy. I do that all the time. But you would be surprised at how many people comment like, you look weird, put some makeup on. So sometimes you feel like you have to apologize for not wearing makeup, which is kind of stupid if you think about it, because why does it matter if I'm wearing makeup when I'm just sitting here telling you guys a story? And I also didn't brush my hair, so let's do this. So I'm actually going to be telling you a couple of stories in this video. The main one being the first one I'm going to tell you about, but I thought it wasn't cool enough or interesting enough to just put in one video. So there's a couple other stories I want to tell you that are really insignificant, but I want to tell you anyway. Grab some coffee, grab a snack. I just want to chill and hang out with you guys today. We're just going to talk. Okay, now I'm ready. So I don't know if this happens in all schools, but in my school and pretty much every school in Miami, we had something in elementary school called field day. It's a pretty fun day for the average kid. All of the kids in the school get together and they have like this incredible, amazing, massive field day. You play tug-of-war, which we'll get into in a minute. Soccer, flag football, I think, dodgeball, all those fun activities. Here's a little fact about me. I hated field day. I also really hated PE. Not only am I not athletic, not even a little bit, but I was also a really shy kid. Like, I did not like to be the center of attention. I didn't like anybody looking at me, telling me or reprimanding me. Every time the teacher told me something, even if it wasn't that bad, I would start crying in class. It was a disaster. I would have hated to be my parent. Anything that embarrassed me made me cry. Like, it was horrible. For me, field day was always that event that I was dreading, that I never ever looked forward to, because I hated having to do sports things in front of other kids. The most awkward, most embarrassing things would happen to me at field day. And you would think, you're in elementary school, how bad could it be? So there was this kid in my class, I'm gonna call him Jimmy, and he was a really heavy boy. Like, he was a pretty hefty little kid. And I'm not trying to say that to be mean at all. I'm sure you're watching this video like, what the hell does that have to do with field day? I'm not saying that to be mean. He just really was he was a hefty little kid. And he was actually one of my best friends. I loved him. We ate lunch together. We played all the time. He was cool. So in my school, you played field day with your grade. So if you were in 3rd grade, all the 3rd graders would get together and do field day. I don't remember what grade I was in during this field day because I feel like field day happened every single year, and I don't remember how old I was during this time, but it was elementary school, so I was tiny. I'm currently 5'1". My license says I'm 5'2", but I'm 5'1". I've always been very short. In elementary school, I was the shortest girl in my class. So every year before field day, we would kind of like practice during PE. The teachers would kind of set everything up and show you what you were gonna do on field day, because not every kid played every single sport. They would kind of pick the best kids to do certain things because, you know, the teachers didn't want to lose. For example, if my teacher wanted the class to win in soccer, like, they wouldn't pick me to play soccer. That would be stupid. And that's usually how it went, and honestly, it just made me feel so much better because I never got picked for any sport. But there were certain games that were mandatory. You had to play no matter what. Even if you sucked, you just had to play. One of those is tug-of-war. Because honestly, it doesn't take much skill to just pull a rope. Now, I was pretty prepared for this. We had practice weeks before field day. Our teacher set us up in a way that the shortest kid was in the very front of the tug-of-war line, and then the tallest kid was all the way at the back. They're the ones that are the strongest, and they could pull the hardest. So of course, me being Kathleen, the teacher obviously wanted me to be at the front of the line because I'm the shortest, and I'm also pretty useless. My teacher is gathering all the kids, the other teacher is gathering all the kids. They give us this giant rope. We're ready. We're like standing there. We are ready. And I probably should mention that our teacher really drilled us on how to pull the rope. She kind of gave us like a little strategy. We were supposed to hold the rope and scream. We were supposed to be like, ah, and pull back as we screamed, but we were supposed to stomp really hard. It's really hard to show you because I'm sitting on a couch. We were supposed to step up and pull and stomp down. Kind of like this. Ah! But standing up and more of like a stomping thing. You get me. So for some crazy reason that I don't understand why, I decided when my teacher wasn't looking to just run to the back of the line. And if I'm gonna be honest, I think it was because the kid right in front of me, like on the opposite side in the other class, I'm pretty sure it was the kid that I had like a huge crush on. I've always had a thing for short guys. Not like shorter than me, but you know, like, I feel like if you're tall, you're like all the way up there. What am I can't. Like I said earlier, I'm really shy and I'm really weird, so I can't think of any other reason that I would run to the back of the line unless it was because I was embarrassed or there was somebody there. Something was going down. So I ran to the back of the line and Jimmy was actually the last person in line. I don't remember what I told him, obviously it was elementary school, but it was probably something like, I don't want to be in the front of the line, it's freaking me out, blah blah. So I just went and stood right behind him. Mind you, my teacher was walking away, she didn't see this, and then by the time that she sat down under the tent, I don't even think she could see us very well. I don't know, she just did not notice I was in the back of the line. Like, hello, you don't see a tiny person just run to the back of the line? That can't be good. You might want to put her back to where she was supposed to go, but no. So, they blow a whistle. And all of a sudden, we start screaming. We start screaming and we start pulling this rope like it's nobody's business. And at first, the other team starts winning. They were just doing a little bit better than us and we could not let that happen. And by we, I mean them, because I didn't care. So the teacher's like screaming from under the tent, like, let's go, you can do this. Stomp harder, pull harder. So everyone starts freaking out and they really bring out their grunts. They're like, ah, and they get really, really aggressive. In the midst of all this, somehow I fall on the floor. I can't even tell you how or why, but I fell on the floor. I want to say I tripped on a rock. Something must have happened. And all of a sudden, Jimmy gives his most aggressive, most powerful grunt and stomps right on my face. Like directly, like if the planets were aligned in a way that if he could put his perfect footprint on the side of my face, it happened. He stomped on my face so hard that I blacked out for a second. And honestly, all I remember thinking was that Jimmy must have had like little tiny rocks stuck on the rubbery cracks underneath his shoes. You know your sneakers, how they have those ridges? I remember feeling like I thought Jimmy must have had like 10 tiny little rocks stuck in those ridges, because when he came down on my face, I kind of felt like a bunch of tiny little knives scraped the side of my face, along with a lot of dirt. He stepped on my face when we were trying to take back the title, all right? We were aggressive. And by we, I mean them. So of course, when the foot comes down on my face, I start screaming. I didn't start crying, oddly enough. Jimmy just turns around and gives me like a sorry and continues to pull his rope. So I run towards my teacher. Mind you, tug-of-war never stopped. Nobody even blinked. I run up to my teacher and I tell her the situation. She's like, what were you doing in the back of the line? We freak out and then she takes me to like the doctor, like the nurse in school. They checked my face, they put Neosporin, they did a bunch of stuff. They gave me a bag of ice and they made me wait in the principal's office for my mom. And I just remember sitting there with the bag of ice, like it was this side. And then when all the kids heard about this, they could not stop making fun of me. Jimmy completely apologized, by the way. Totally not Jimmy's fault. He really just wanted to win tug-of-war, guys. This is not Jimmy's fault. This is my fault. The kids made so much fun of me for that. There was a kid in my class, I believe his name was Joey. I think that was his real name. Joey was calling me Footface. Footface. By the way, Joey, you could have come up with something better than Footface. Then, of course, my mom, being really dramatic, I wonder where I get it from. She shows up at the principal's office, freaking out, like, oh my god, what happened to your face? What's going on? Whatever. I tell her the story. I mean, it's not a big deal. And then she takes me home, and I'm kind of trying to explain the story to my dad because he's overreacting, seeing, like, my face a little bit scratched. By the time I got home, it really was only, like, 4 little scratches. It wasn't that bad. A little bruised, but it wasn't that bad. And I remember my dad freaking out like, what the hell, did a little boy punch you in the face? And I was like, oh my god, Dad, relax, okay? A boy didn't punch me in the face. He just stepped on me, calm down. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And yeah, this story might have not been interesting or funny or cool, but I think there's a lesson we all could learn from this story. And that is to try to stay in line at all times. And I know in this case, it was literally that I shouldn't have gotten on a line, but I think it was the universe trying to teach me at a young age to just not get out of line figuratively. And I don't know, ever since that day, I've just always stayed in line. Maybe my life would have gone an entirely different direction had Jimmy not stepped on my face. Wow. Okay, so this next story I want to tell you really quick is something that didn't happen to me. It happened to one of my friends, but for some reason I'm gonna tell you because this is also a field day story, and as I was telling you the gymming story, it reminded me of this, and I had completely forgotten about it. So I had friends in elementary school, and they were twin boys, and even though it was elementary school, I kind of feel weird saying his name because the embarrassing thing happened to him. So I'm gonna call him Bobby. I wasn't really friends with Bobby's brother. I was more friends with Bobby. You know, there's always a twin you like more. Mary Kate, Tamara, you know. And I think me and Bobby were in line to play, what is that game where you go up? It's kind of like baseball. You use a big ball and use your feet. What is that called? Kickball, right? That's what it's called. It's kickball. That actually is a very common sport now that I think about it. That one was actually one of the things that was mandatory. Everybody had to play kickball. And I remember Bobby telling me like, I have to pee so bad. I have to pee so bad. I just have to pee so bad. And I was like, okay, Bobby, go tell the teacher. I don't know what to tell you. And I remember Bobby going up to the teacher, asking her, and her like shaking her head, and then he comes back to the line and she just didn't let him go to the bathroom, which now that I think about it is really, really cruel. I will never understand a teacher that does not allow a kid to go to the bathroom. I mean, granted, every situation is different. There are kids who go to the bathroom like 10 times in a row just so they won't be in class, but you just never know the situation, and if a kid has to go to the bathroom, just let him go to the bathroom. And especially Bobby, he was doing like the potty dance. He was like, I gotta pee, I gotta pee. So I turn around and I start talking to my friend who's standing right in front of me, and we start having a conversation, and all of a sudden I hear Bobby go, uh-oh, and I turn around and Bobby has his legs like spread out wide. He's almost in a squat position and he's just peeing. And I don't know why, but this vision of him peeing is like forever burned in my mind. I could picture it perfectly. He was wearing a green shirt with khaki shorts. I even remember the look on his face. He was like kind of disgusted. He didn't do it on purpose. He just really couldn't hold it in anymore. And he peed everywhere. Like, he wasn't like, oh, I peed a little bit, maybe I should just run to the bathroom. No, 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 no. And I remember just staring at him. Like, I stared at him while he was peeing. I was like, Bobby, you're like peeing everywhere. And I think that's why I remember it so vividly, because I was a kid who really got embarrassed really easily. So just watching him pee, I felt so bad for him and I got so embarrassed for him that I went on full on panic mode when I saw him peeing, and I ran to my teacher like, Bobby's peeing. They came and then they took him. I guess he went to go pee and then went to go change his clothes. I don't know. But I just remember feeling so bad for Bobby, and thinking about it now, it's like, that poor little boy. I know that embarrassing story had nothing to do with me, but I was kind of involved and it was pretty embarrassing. Honestly, guys, I just wanted to sit here and tell you how much I hated field day. I really did. And I can't tell you how many times I have hit myself in the face with my own tetherball. It used to swing back around and knock me out almost every time. And one time during PE, it wasn't field day, but it was PE. And I remember playing soccer, and I remember the goalie. I remember her name perfectly too. And they went to kick the ball into the goal. I'm not a soccer watcher, but every time I have seen soccer, I've seen the person deflect the ball, you know, like, oh. This girl like kicked it back. Like it tried to come in, and when she kicked it back, it hit me right in the face. And mind you, this girl was a soccer player, okay? She wasn't just like a girl in elementary school playing soccer. No, like she did soccer outside of elementary school. Like she was a really great soccer player. My like mouth hit my tooth and all the inside of my mouth was bleeding. It was horrible. I hated PE so much. Okay, so I have a couple more embarrassing stories to tell you guys. This has nothing to do with field day or anything like that, but I wanted to include it in this video because like I said, it's not special enough to have its own video. But me and Janine were talking about this story the other day. Janine is my cousin, and we were just cracking up on the phone. I don't have a lot of story time videos. Like, my life is not that interesting, but I've had the most embarrassing shit happen to me. And these two things happened literally one day apart from each other. So the first one was when I was in 7th grade. I accidentally signed up for aerobics class. And I do this because I know my mom did that. She tells me she didn't, but I know my mom signed me up for aerobics because I would have never done that. I would have never picked that elective. I went to a middle school where everyone hated the aerobics teacher. She was the meanest, most aggressive aerobics instructor. So I remember that I was there with my friend Emmeline. We had that class together, and she would play the same music every time. And I still know the moves. Like, I still know the aerobics moves. Till this day, we would do the same thing every class. Walk to the side, kick! And she wouldn't let anybody talk during her aerobics class. Obviously, you're in the middle of aerobics, no need to talk, but I just couldn't control it. Every time Emmeline and I would like lay down next to each other to start doing sit-ups, we would just have like full-blown conversations, and our teacher would get so mad, and every time she would see somebody talk, she would make us do like more sit-ups. I don't know. We were laying down, me and Emmeline were right next to each other, the whole class was doing sit-ups, and I remember that I started to like go like this because my neck was hurting while I was doing the sit-ups, because obviously nobody really taught me how to do them correctly. And I remember her screaming from across the room like, whoa, well, Kathleen, maybe your neck hurts because you're not doing them right. And like I said earlier, I don't like anything with authority yelling at me. It just makes me uncomfortable. So I was like all nervous, and then I tried to do my sit-ups correctly. And then when she looked away, I remember I turned over to Emmeline and I said this sentence: ugh, I hate our teacher, she's such a bitch. And I never used words like that in middle school, but she had just embarrassed the crap out of me, so I called her a bitch. But that's not the bad part. The music cut off as soon as I said, she is such a bitch. So I went a little bit something like this. She is such a bitch. What? I can't hear you. I said I hate the teacher, she's such a bitch. You could probably expect what happened next. I got in big trouble. Because of course she saw us talking in the middle of sit-ups, so she turned off the music to scream at us, and then that blurted out. I was screaming, I just didn't realize it, but once the music cut off, it was very loud and very clear. Terrible. And then the very next day, the exact same crap happened to me again. Totally different situation. I was in a different place. I wasn't even at school. Janine and I, when we were younger, we were in like a modeling class. Like our parents put us in like modeling after school, and our class was like in a studio, like in a warehouse type of thing with this huge runway, and we would change into a bunch of different clothes, and we would do like a bunch of different fashion shows, and like all the parents would come and see it, and it was like a whole big thing. Well, that day Janine and I were like sitting on the side of the runway with other people in our class, and we were watching everyone go up and do like the little turns and, you know, model and do the whole thing. And we always had music playing when we would do that. And the music was always playing really, really loudly. Like you really couldn't have a conversation with the person sitting right next to you. And I remember Janine was pretty close to me, but she wasn't sitting right next to me. It's not something I could have whispered. I don't know why I wanted to tell her, but I wanted to tell her that I needed to fart. Like for some reason, something about, I had to tell her. I wanted to tell her that I had a desire to fart. And it went a little something like this. To fart. And just like that, everyone in my modeling class just started laughing like, ah, Kathleen has to fart. And I just remember sitting there like honestly and truly, how did I not learn my lesson from literally the day before? I know you're thinking like, oh my gosh, did you ever go back to modeling after that? My mom paid for it, so I had no other choice but to go. God knows I didn't want to. Anyway, that completes this video. I just wanted to tell you guys a few embarrassing stories. I hope this video wasn't really stupid. As I'm filming it, I feel like, I don't even know if I'm gonna put this video up. Honestly, I love to do these cat chats videos just so we can talk and just so you can get to know me better. I'm not trying to sit here and tell you like, oh my gosh, I was roofied at a bar and then a stripper spit on me. Like, it's not that kind of story. I'm not a story time channel, I'm a beauty channel, but sometimes I just like to tell you stories that have happened to me, and none of them are ever gonna be that interesting. You have to understand, my life was never that crazy. The traumatized by my window story time is probably as rebel as I got. I mean, sure, when I was like 16, if somebody would have told me, hey, you're gonna have a YouTube channel and people are gonna depend on your stories when you do cat chats, I would have done more fun things. So yeah, I hope you guys like this video. I am sweating buckets right now. I don't know why it's so hot in my house, but I feel like my face is bright red. Is it red? Maybe I'm just nervous you're gonna hate this video. I'm sweating. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. Jimmy, you hurting me. Jimmy, get off me. Jimmy, you're hurting my face. Jimmy.